Welcome to the Growers Mineral Podcast. This episode features audio from our most recent conference call. Each month, we host a live discussion on Zoom, bringing together farmers, agronomists, and industry experts to share insights on soil health, crop nutrition, and sustainable farming practices. For more information about Growers Mineral or to join our next call, visit growersmineral.com. And now, enjoy the discussion.
All right, let's see if this is working now. Jim, can you hear me?
Yeah, I got you, Russ.
Okay. Yeah, I was having issues on the other side. So, yeah, if you're ready to get started, we can go ahead whenever you're ready.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and get started, and once we get the ball rolling, if you want to throw up that January picture, that's for guys to take a look at. I talked with Eddie Jantzi, and he's got a customer that doesn't have the calendar and would like to take a look at the couple of the pictures that we're talking about. So what we do, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Growers Mineral Corp conference call. We've been working this week. I was with Chris Coles. We worked in Missouri. Then we went into Illinois, worked with Dave Armstrong, Stephen Streck, and then we worked with Marty Whitsitt. And so Marty and one of his customers, Paul Meyers, who was at our annual meeting this year, will be participating. But we're going to take a look at the January calendar picture. And Chris Carter, if you're out there, you can unmute yourself. And what Chris has a nursery that he runs or he owns. And we're going to talk a little bit about the things that Chris does in the nursery for preservation of the flowers. And this picture that's in the calendar, Chris Coles took that a year ago, and it's absolutely beautiful. And I'm not going to steal any Chris's thunder on this. I want him to kind of talk a little bit about that. And Chris has got a lot of experience with the product in Southern agriculture. And I would like him to, once he talks a little bit about the nursery, we've spent a lot of time together on the road and talking to potential customers and talking with very good customers. And Chris will talk a little bit about that. But I want him to kind of focus on this picture that's the January picture, kind of to talk to you about his approach with the product and how it works for him. And then he can talk a little bit about the program and what his customers are doing, in Southern agriculture. So, hey, Chris, are you out there?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Oh, baby. Boy, am I glad to hear you. Glad to hear you.
I do want you to know it's past my bedtime, but I'm willing.
Well, there's a lot of guys on the line that are in the same boat, including me. This traveling thing. We were down at Galatia, Illinois. Well, that's not New York City, believe me, but that was about 6.5 hours. And by golly, we made her before we got started. And it was there was no snow, so that helped significantly. So I'm going to let Chris introduce himself. And get the ball rolling. And eventually Chris said, or Russ said that he would get Chris's picture up so that you guys that are, on your smartphone or on your computer can take a look at that, because it's a beauty. And Chris's nursery is it's absolutely excellent. And we just think it's a very great testament to the product and the things that it will do. So, Chris, if you want to go ahead, and I want you to talk about your operation, the nursery and what you're doing, and then eventually we'll start to talk a little bit about some of your customer base and some of the things that they're doing and what you see down there in Southern agriculture. So this is Chris Carter. Introduce yourself, tell these people where you're at geographically, and where your nursery is located and kind of the area that you work in.
Okay. So yeah, we're on. If you're familiar with the state of Florida, we're nearly in the exact spot where I-75 and Interstate 10 intersect. We're just slightly west of there, in a small area, rural area, and we've been fortunate enough to make a living here. It is rural. And a lot of my friends, when I graduated from high school, had to leave here to find employment that was gainful, and fortunately, we were able to stay. A little bit about my background: I was a school teacher for several years. My wife worked in an office at a business, and my former mailman contracted emphysema, and he and his wife owned a nursery. And I ran into him in a hardware store, and he said, "Hey, I'm selling my nursery. Why don't you and your new wife buy it?" And we did. And that was in November of 1985. And by February of 1986, we were underway with just one employee. And so we have learned a lot through the years. We now have 10 employees, and what we do, if you're not familiar with, there are a lot of different ways to make a living in the nursery business. What we do is we gather material from probably between 40 and 50 different vendors and bring it to one place, so that people can come to our place and they can get fruit trees or shade trees or blueberry bushes or little pots of petunias or snapdragons or geraniums. We also have a large greenhouse. The name of our business is Noble's Greenhouse, and that's how it started. So we sell a lot of house plants, and it's a wonderful, wonderful business. There have been some awfully lean years. I won't make that up, but all in all, it's good work. It's honest work, and the people that come and buy plants, it's not like working at the parts house where your tractor tears up and you have to go in and buy a part. You're not a happy camper. But people that come and buy plants, for most of them, it's a luxury, and they're in a good mood, and it's a happy place. So I can say that it's not stress free, but it's pretty dang close. But the main problem that we have always had is that since we bring in so many different vendors, everybody grows their plant a little differently. And some plants show up to our nursery with time-release fertilizer in them. Some show up with quick-release fertilizer. Some of them show up with absolutely nothing. Some of them have been grown using calcium and minor elements, and they hold up very well. Some of them show up and they've been grown on a 20-20-20 liquid fertilizer their whole life. And as soon as we take them off of that and bring them to our place, we were finding that they would just start declining almost immediately. And so we could not figure out a really good way to fertilize for many years. And we used a siphon system with the Peters Special. I know you're familiar with that. It's no longer available, but there is a product called Jack's Classic that's owned by the same man. We used that for many years in a siphon system. We'd mix it heavy in a 5-gallon bucket and have it siphon out. But the problem with that is it's, number one, it's not real consistent. It's not very even. And for the plants that came in already fertilized, we were getting some toxicity and some salt deposit, and we were having a hard time with it. So we got somebody to come in, and they recommended a product called NutriCoat, which was very much like a lot of you have probably heard of Osmocoat. But the Osmocoat seemed to be very pH sensitive, and our water is like 7.5 because it comes right off of limestone, and so it wouldn't break down. So that was a failure. We did switch to a product called NutriCoat, which was very similar, that did not seem to be so pH sensitive, and we were relatively successful with that for a while. But if you'll picture taking 1,000 little 4-inch cups and trying to put a teaspoon of that in each cup, only to have the wind blow them over and dump it out, that was our problem with that. So in 2007, which is a long way down the road from 1985, because we struggled a long time. But in 2007, my brother-in-law met Ed Bolsher up at the Sunbelt Show in Moultrie, Georgia, and came back and was very impressed with the grower's mineral solution and the high calcium lime approach. So in the beginning, I didn't really think about it as part of the nursery. In that time, for those of you that remember, of course, it's not compared to what fertilizer is now, but fertilizer was sky high in 2007. And I have a few cows and pasture and so forth, and I had decided that year that I just wasn't going to fertilize. It was too expensive, and I just felt like I could cut my number of cows down a little bit and make do without fertilizing at all that year. Well, I after hearing my brother-in-law talk, I thought, well, shoot, we've got a lime pit right down the road, and it's high cal lime. It's wonderful stuff. And so I went ahead and put 5 tons on my pasture that fall. And the next spring, I came back with 3 tons more. And then I started with the spraying, and we've never done anything else. It was 7 years soil test required more lime. And I was very impressed with that. And then, of course, absolutely the cost of the growers and the ease of getting it out contributed to all that too. So I'm kind of hard-headed, and it took a year or two, but I finally figured out that might be a fix for the problems that we had at the nursery. And so we started dinking around with it a little bit, not knowing how it would affect small, tender plants. We started out doing a little bit on shrubbery, doing a little bit on trees, and of course that was not a problem. So we thought, well, okay, things that are hardened off are going to accept it very well. But I will tell you that I messed up some stuff because I was just playing around with how much I could put out and what I could do. When I finally figured out that I could go in there with about, a tablespoon and a half to 2.5 tablespoons per gallon, I hit a sweet spot. And that was not so much that it over-fertilized the things that came in with fertility, and it was enough to keep the stuff that didn't come in with no fertility looking pretty good. And we sell plants in a lot of different sizes. We sell the little 4-packs that I imagine most of you have seen before. It's about I'd say that cell is probably 1 inch by 1 inch by 2 inches deep. We also sell stuff in 4-inch cups, 6-inch cups, 3-gallon, 7-gallon, right on up. And so we had to play around a little bit with that, but we found out that if we went out and sprayed about once a week, that we could gain days and days and days of shelf life. Those little bedding packs that we call them, the little cell packs, if you don't move those in 2 or 3 weeks, generally, they begin to stretch and discolor. And once they do that, nobody's interested. Same thing with the vegetable plants, tomatoes, peppers, eggplant. When we were using the 2020, the poor old tomatoes would be a foot tall in a week. And people don't want that either. I mean, it's all about appearance. And when they come in, I can take a tomato plant that's a foot tall and I can make it work. But people that don't know what they're doing or don't have a lot of experience wouldn't touch it. And I don't blame them. But when we started putting the GMS on there, we were able to keep the color good in them. We were not really accelerating the growth. And we found out that even in those small cells, we started getting branching. And I got to share a funny story with you that kind of goes right along with this. We belong to we did belong to a garden center group for many years, and that allowed us access to a lot of consultants that could help us. And somebody had a garden center in Jacksonville, and they were interested in joining this garden center group. And they told him, they said, well, drive over to Live Oak, it's about an hour and a half, and meet with them, see what they think, before you make a decision whether you want to join this group or not. And so this older gentleman came over, and he was a grower retail, which we are not, but he was a grower retail, and he walked straight to some little packs of petunias that we had. And he said, boy, this grower sure put a lot of growth retardant on it to get all this branching and keep this plant down and looking good. And I said, no, sir, they didn't. I said, because we actually buy from this grower, and this grower, Jim Holbausen, will know her, was using our product at the time and growing just a phenomenal plant. And he would not accept the fact that there was no growth retardant put on that plant, because he had never in all his years seen a plant that looked that good in that small a container in that short a period of time. So I was impressed by that, because at that point we had not been using the growers that long in the capacity that we're using it in. So I knew that we were on to something at that point, and it has just been a godsend. The other thing, another unintended thing that we realized is in North Florida this time of the year, it's very difficult for us to do much watering. We have cool weather, not cold like some of you have, but we do have cool weather. We do have overcast skies, and we do have high humidity right through the winter. So we find ourselves, even in these small packs of flowers that we sell all winter long, not being able to water. So when we were leaning so heavily on the liquid fertilizer, we couldn't put it out because the soil was already drenched. And if we continued to wet that soil, then we rotted the plants. So the growers fit in naturally in that capacity, because we could apply it over the top in the form of a mist without having to wet the soil. And that really was something that was an eye-opener. So that was, like I said, that was something that just slipped up on us, and we had no idea that was going to be something that would work so well through the winter for us. The other thing that we've done, we do grow a crop of roses every spring, and we buy them in from California, bare root. They come in a refrigerated truck in boxes, and we get them out, prune them up a little bit, pot them up, and then we sell them about 3 months later. Roses are a difficult crop in Florida for the same reason, humidity, except high temperatures and not low temperatures. Fungus, they're very prone to black spot and powdery mildew, all those things that I don't know if people up north fight with on roses, but it's just a struggle for us. And so when we got our first crop in, we didn't start this till about 6-7 years ago, I guess. We went ahead and potted them up with about 10% high cal by weight. We had it mixed into the soil, and we sprayed them with nothing but growers. We didn't spray them with fungicides. We didn't spray them with insecticides. We just used growers as they were flushing out and putting the new growth out. Well, Ed Bolsher, who was the person that taught me most of everything I know about growers, was living down here at the time, and he was really impressed with our roses. So there's a nursery company down in Central Florida that we buy a lot of roses from, and he said, let's take one down there and show them. And so we loaded up 2 or 3 on the back seat of the truck, and off to Orlando we went. And the grower down there was just mystified that we were able to have such a spotless, clean rose without the use of fungicide. However, I don't think he believed us, because we never were able to sell him anything. but I know it's true, because we buy roses from other vendors, and they don't come in clean like the ones that we grew. So that from a fungus standpoint, let alone a feed standpoint, it is really quite the product. I think so. In a nutshell, I think the two things that it has given us that we were not getting from anything else is the disease. The amount of disease that we have is so much smaller. And I won't tell you that we don't have some, we do, but it's much less than it was. And then just the fact that we're able to use one product in one, just one solution and have it level the playing field with all the plants that we bring in from all the different places was just spectacular. And that's without in these plants that we buy in from these vendors, most of them do not come in with much of any calcium in the soil. So this is just growers standing by itself, and yet it has helped us just tremendously. I think if I had to guess, we don't put it on the trees and shrubs quite as much as we do on the annuals, perennials, and vegetables. Those things that seem to grow the fastest and be the most tender is where we see the most benefit. And part of that is because very rarely do we get shrubbery or trees in that the grower hasn't already just piled fertilizer in. So I think that's why we don't notice so much there like we do on the tender stuff. But I can't say enough good things about it. That's that. So, I mean, if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. One thing we did do, so for years we used just a regular backpack sprayer, and we would get it as tight as we'd pump it up as tight as we could get it and put the mist as fine as we could get it, and that's the way we did it. And I'm going to be embarrassed to tell you, I want to tell you about a sprayer that I bought 2 years ago, and I can't tell you the name of it, and I should have written it down. But we were at a trade show down in Orlando, and there was a company there that had, it almost looks like a briefcase, but it's a rechargeable mister, and it has a wand, and you plug it in, it holds a quart, and it's fine enough that I don't have to mix it, and that really makes it nice. We just, we do it by hand. I mean, our whole place is only 2.5 acres, and our display area for annuals and perennials is probably 1/3 of an acre, if that much. And so it's very easy to get over it pretty quickly. But that's the way that we apply it now, and it works out real well. So if there's anything I can answer for anybody, I will.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, Jamal Bison. One other thing before I open it up a little bit for guys, I want you to comment a little bit about pecan trees. We've had guys that have called Chris to discuss other fruit trees, and Chris is not the total expert. He's got a couple customers that are pretty good pecan growers themselves, but I'd just like you to talk a little bit about pecan trees and what you noticed with limestone and the foliar feeding and what effect it had on those fruit trees.
Okay. Well, I mean, the first thing I would tell you is that, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people believe that pecans are alternate bearing, and that they do to a certain extent have a very heavy crop one year. And in the old days, or even now with some people, depending on what their fertility plan is, the next year they can have next to zero nuts. And the first thing I can tell you is that when you get the amount of calcium that you need in that soil, when you get up around 80%, and if you'll put 8 to 10 sprayings of the growers to the pecans, you can take a lot of that out of there. You're still not going to have a heavy crop every single year. But it does take those huge waves out of the production. And the other thing that we have down here is we have a lot of pressure from scab, which is a disease, and it certainly helps with that. Now, certain varieties do better with scab than others. Some of the newer varieties have been bred for that to not be quite such a problem, but a lot of these grows are old. A lot of these orchards have been around for many years. A pecan's not the fastest growing thing that there is, and so some of these older varieties are still out there, but it helps an awful lot with the fungus, and it does. The other thing, obviously, is just like any other crop, it helps the nut fill out better. You can have years when you don't have quite as much moisture, or when the fertility is not like it ought to be, and the nuts just don't fill out. And you crack them, and there's like a half a nut in there, and those don't sell, obviously. So you got the weight of the actual kernel in there that is so much better with the mineral than on conventional fertilizer, and then you've just got the fact that as long as a lot of these orchards down here don't have irrigation. They're dry land, and so a lot of that's dependent on how much rain we get, which in Florida is not quite as much of a problem, but in Georgia, where the majority of them are grown, it can be you can go through dry periods, and that certainly affects it. But I would say that I'm kind of jaded, because I believe that there's not a thing in the world that's not green that it can't help. But I just heard for years and years as I was coming up that, oh, well, we got good pecans last year, we won't get any this year. And man, it certainly helps with that a great deal. So, the other thing that's a hard sell, or hard for people to get their head around, is doing it, as late in the year as possible. Everybody wants to fertilize to try to get the blooms and the nuts to come out, but they don't want to fertilize or spray with the growers later in the year. And that was one thing that Ed was always adamant about when we talked to these pecan growers is, get one on there as late as you can while you still have foliage, because that energy will carry you right into the spring for the bloom. And so we of course always preach that, and the growers that I've worked with that did that saw very good benefits. Yeah.
Yeah. Very good, Chris. Hey, man. Absolutely excellent. I really appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Well, if guys come along and decide they want to shoot some questions at you, we'll basically entertain that. But we're gonna go move along. And hey, Chris, I really appreciate it. Really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. My appreciation goes to growers, because it has helped us tremendously, and I appreciate you and the company and Chris for putting our picture in the calendar.
Very good, sir. Very good. Take care of yourself, Chris.
He could have gotten me in there, and it would have sold more growers, but it's okay.
We understand. So, Eddie Jantzi, Eddie, are you out there? I hope you didn't go to sleep on me. He's a dairyman, and it's Chris is just old, but Eddie might be a little tired from taking care of cows. So, out there, Ed?
Yeah, you hear me?
Oh yeah, very good, excellent. I thought it would work very nicely with the picture of Chris's nursery. Eddie had sent me a picture of a lady's front porch, I believe, and Eddie said, she's been using the growers on the decorative flowers that are there for quite a period of time, and how she kind of did it. And we decided that we would go ahead and put that picture in the calendar, but that's in the June where we're not doing a conference call. So I thought that we would give a little time to that. So I told Eddie, if he could talk to this individual for us, and she would be willing to share a few of her secrets with the growers, we would like to do that. And then we were going to kind of diverge a little bit and let Eddie talk about cows, but I wanted to start with the June picture of the growers calendar and the beautiful porch and the flowers and the bushes. So Ed, I'm going to let you take the lead, and however you want to approach this, it's the ball's in your court, man.
All right. Well, thank you, Jim. Yeah. So the customer that's going to be on tonight, her name is Karen, and she's an aunt to my wife. And we got introduced, I introduced her, or she introduced me through my mother-in-law, Elaine. And I was told that she loves growing flowers, and if I can convince her on this, that if it works, I'll get her convinced. So that's kind of how this all got started. So Karen, if you're there, let me know, and maybe you can say how you, from your side of it, how you got started with this product and how you're using it. You there, Karen?
Yeah, evidently she's struggling with the. Do you have any idea, Eddie, what kind of concentration? And the picture actually says that she's spraying, I think, every 2 weeks, basically, every 14 days. So I didn't know if you knew anything about her protocol at all.
Yeah.
Concentration is the big thing. That's what a lot of folks, worry about, that they get the right concentration so that they, don't injure the foliage, and Chris was kind of emphasizing that a little bit.
Yeah. So talking to her earlier, I do know she's using it a little bit different approach than I'm familiar with as flowers. I have a lot of my customers are spraying it. She's actually just putting it simply, watering it with a container, like using same ratio of water to growers, basically 2 tablespoons to a gallon of water.
Okay.
Pouring it into the flower bed, or into the bed of the flowers every 14 days.
I see. Do you know, is she using any calcium product at all in there, Ed?
No, she has not used any calcium.
I gotcha. So what she has in the picture is just basically the result of the growers.
Yeah, and I mean, hopefully we can get connected here yet. But one of the things is, yeah, like she's always had a good feel for flowers even prior to the growers, and I think she does a good job in selecting her flowers.
Mm-hmm.
And
so did she basically get started, talking to you? And had you talked to her about watering it in, or is that just something that she conceived on her own?
Yeah, so I think originally I'd said, that we kind of use a standard of 2 to 2.5 gallons 2 and 2.5 tablespoons per gallon of water.
Gotcha.
And I guess she just took that approach and just watered her flowers that way instead of using a sprayer.
I gotcha.
And has been very happy with it.
Yeah, no, the results, you can see it. It's definitely there. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
So hey, one thing, and if she can get herself connected, we'll definitely let her jump on. But one thing I was interested with you, Ed, is talking about this thing in the dairy industry that we're seeing here in the States. Are you seeing this beef on dairy up in Canada, and are you participating in it, or what do you know about it per se?
Yeah, I mean, I'm using it. I'm doing the beef on dairy myself.
Mm-hmm.
I started, I don't know, 4 years ago, maybe 5. Kind of how
I got you.
I got started on it was at the time we were probably 50-50 with conventional semen breeding AI and just doing conventional. And I was working pretty good for about a 50-50 with beef. I'm sorry, bull calves versus heifer calves, Holsteins.
Mm-hmm.
And but about at that time the VO market had really crashed. And the thing that this price of beef was starting to go up like significantly, and I got looking at this, and it seems these bull calves from a Holstein, they're always either too big coming out of the cow. Like if there's ever a time I have to induce a cow to calve, like it's generally a bull calf, and they go overdue, and I find they don't suck quite as vigorously as a heifer calf. Like they don't want to, I don't know, lazier maybe would be a way to say. And and the price was just not great. And I got looking at this. Well, I was starting to hear about this beef on dairy thing, and I talked to a few beef guys, and they're like their maintenance. I'm like, and I was just thinking, like, the Holstein breed is not stronger than it's not getting stronger. Maybe we can even just get stronger calves by crossing some beef here. So that's how I got started on it. And kind of where we went from there is I went to the sex semen for Holstein. First, second breeding, maybe third, depending how good a cow it was. Some of these things, some of these parameters I might change in the near future here now, but kind of where we're at right now is, especially they're a decent cow or above average, they got about 2 breedings of sex semen. If they're not pregnant, they're going beef. And right now it is working out approximately about a 50% beef calves. I'm dropping 50% of my calves beef. And the other thing is too is a low fertility cow is kind of going in. That's if they're not pregnant in 2 breedings because of fertility issues, they're not popping out more Holstein heifers for me to have. So that was one way to clean that up a little bit. And the price of beef it just kept going up from there. It's been pretty good, to be honest. And
So you're basically still raising your own replacements too, right?
Yeah. So I'm still almost getting a 50% Holstein or heifer ratio with that approach. And because of that, now ironically 2 years ago, it's not like this sex semen thing isn't 100%, right? I had 4 bull calves come on. I gave the guy a little bit of heck for it because I'm like, I'm paying a little bit of premium. I wasn't looking for Holstein bulls, but anyway. But it's been pretty good the last couple of years again. But overall, yeah, it's 50. It works out close to a 50% calves are coming in beef. And going back to, they drop, they want to suck right away. It's low maintenance. I'll be honest. My calving has been pretty low maintenance going that approach. The Holstein heifers come out generally fairly easy calving, and then I'm Angus, and I like the Angus. They're simple, and they do for the most part come out strong and wanting to suck. So I just find my very few issues with calves starting because of that.
So, hey, Ed, can you just kind of go through, what crops you're raising and, how you approach the growers and what do you do with the line?
Yeah, sorry, repeat that again. I got distracted.
Yeah. Just go real quick on how you're using the growers on your farm, and then what do you do about the line on your farm?
Yeah, so using the growers, yeah, we grow alfalfa, we grow a lot of forage and corn, silage, and we grow basically 4 different crops, soybeans. And basic approach, 2 gallons for small grains and soybeans, 1.5 to 2 gallons in the seed or on furrow. We go in and, especially on the forage crops, we foliar feed at least 4 to 6 gallons per year, whether that's 2 or 3 times, different sprays. Especially on the forage side, when you're feeding your cows, anything that we feed to our cattle, we're going minimum 6 gallons per acre for the year. Corn silage, sometimes we even go up to, I have already gone to 8, but generally around that 6 gallons. Soybeans that IP beans, for example, we'll maybe just do 2 to 3 gallons total. We do 1.5 in the seed, and then a 1.5 to 2 gallon spray foliar. And we have been playing with the NA too, with the soybeans, and as well as some corn. I think that it is doing something with speeding up that dry down process. And then, so we're running about average 6 gallons per acre over most of our crop. Some of the crops that we sell off farm, we might drop that down to 4.
Okay. Very good.
And then we're using the calcium here. Dad started applying in the early 90s. We probably got 20 ton or more on some of the land anyway. The rented ground that we have is 1 to 4 ton, depending how long we've rented it. We actually apply more gypsum on the rented ground just because of
Yep.
Just it's a little more quicker reacting, I think.
Sure. Nope.
Yeah. So
Very good.
One of the things I just wanted to say, and
Yeah, go ahead, Ed.
hopefully Karen can talk too, but it's the simplicity, going out there and just putting it on and letting the crop and the weather do its thing. That's one of the reasons I'm sold on the program, because it's simple. We just go out there and spray, and I'm not really paying anybody to come and do a whole lot of extra testing this and testing that. And I've been happy. So
yep.
Being a dairy farmer, it's got to stay simple or like too stressful.
Yep. I understand. Hey, Ed, I appreciate it. And I'm sorry, Karen. Hopefully we can overcome the obstacle of all this technology. But if something does, we're going to move on to another gentleman. But if you can happen to pop in there, we'll definitely quit.
All right.
So I'm going to move along. And Paul Meyer, I see you're still there, Paul, and you're unmuted. Paul is a very good grower's customer, been with us a long time. Actually, this week when Chris and I were in the field, we had supper with Paul, and then we met with a couple gentlemen that interact with Paul all the time, and talked in depth. This gentleman moved down to Southern Illinois or Central Illinois from New York, and he's kind of mimicking some of the cover cropping that Paul's doing for 4-H for his dairy herd. He just put up a new facility. It's just really impressive. So I just always have a very good conversation with Paul. So I asked him if he'd just get on the call for us and talk a little bit about his operation, and then kind of comment on this beef on dairy thing like Eddie did. And Paul's does a fair amount of cover cropping, a fair amount of no-tilling. And his dad started putting calcium on many years ago. And Paul's, using the product in the field, and then he's also using it in the barn. So he did a real nice job at the annual meeting, kind of educating our guys a little bit about what he's up to. So, Paul, I'm just going to let you take off, and what you want to talk about, I'm going to let you talk about. Well, let's hold the politics down. Let's keep it to agriculture.
Okay,
and kind of introduce yourself and tell the people where you're at, where you're located.
Okay, can you hear me, Jim?
Yeah, hear you loud and clear, man.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm like South Central Illinois here, just about 60 miles east of St. Louis. Dairy farmer. I'm like Eddie. We've been doing the beef thing, Angus, probably going on a little over 2 years now. With the cattle, same way like him. I think we was having a lot of trouble with bull calves or even calves in general. Second thing we did, we started crossbreeding, so we're breeding sex semen. We've been buying semen out of Creative Genetics out of California for about 2 years now, breeding all our Holsteins to Jersey. And then if we can't get them bred with that, then we're switching them over to Angus. And we are about the same, probably about 50-50. The only thing I really noticed is our death loss has really dropped. Our calves with the crosses, and be it the Jersey or also be the Angus. I mean, we're having calves drop maybe 10 minutes later, they're up already nursing the cow. So, I mean, our death loss is probably under 1%. Pull calves is probably next to none, unless we have one breach once in a while or gets head twisted under when it's calves. We've been playing. We switched them all over. We feed all raw milk to our calves now, non-pasteurized. We just stored it out in the morning and night, and we started bottling the calves with that and got away from the milk replacer. We raise corn, beans, cover crops, but hardly anything leaves the farm. We roast our beans. We replace wheat with barley. We're raising barley now, and then we're using that for a straw source, either for bedding purposes in the free stalls or for mixing into the TMR. We're doing, we just tried to plenish beans this year. This is our first. We probably had about 50 acres of those. We just started feeding them through the robots. We're still feeding our regular roasted beans in the TMR in the back by the silos. With the raw beans or the regular beans, we couldn't get past like 4 pounds with the oil saturation. So now we're just starting. We just pushed. Now we're trying to get around 6 pounds. We pretty well, I think we have all the bean meal pulled out of the ration. So all our protein sources coming from off the farm here. Jim, we've been struggling. I mean, we've trying to do this for 20 years, and I think maybe before I retire, I get it figured out. But I think when I came back from the meeting the other day, we were still having trouble with the cows always being loose, and I always thought we was overfeeding protein. But when I talked to the guys out there, I think we came back and we had the phosphorus pulled out, but I think the magnesium in the feed yet was still kind of turning us loose, you know. So the manure straightened up a little more now. We, the cow's milk starting to come up a little bit. So a couple of changes, as I said, we're constantly making. We are all no-till. We probably, our last tillage of any sort is probably going on close to 4 to 5 years. We was doing some strip till at the end there for the corn, nothing for the beans, but we moved away from that, I'd say at least 4 years ago, and now we're just no tilling. We cut all our covers in the spring for forage. Either we bale it or we put it in the silos, and then we'll come around. A lot of times we like to let it green up for a week to 2, maybe 3 weeks, and then we'll come back in and start doing our planting. Most of the time it'll be about a foot tall, and then we'll plant through it green, and then we'll burn it down. We was up to like 4 gallons in furrow at first. They're trying to get the corn out of the ground when we was doing the strip till and stuff, but now last year we backed it down to about 2.5 gallons in the furrow, and then 2 foliar passes this past year and the year before. I think usually about when the rows are canopied, maybe about 3 foot, and then usually again when it's about 5 foot tall, and we can still get through with the ground rake.
Sure.
Hey, Paul, what kind of species are you using for your cover crop that you're making the forage with?
Okay, well, when we first started out in the early days, I guess back in 2006, we was basically cereal rye. I'd say we was probably cereal rye for at least 7 or 8 years. Once we start breaking up that hard pan and getting water filtration, we struggled with those first years with fields being soft and muddy, and we couldn't get across. And with the tillage, it seemed like it always made that top couple inches loose, and then we was putting ruts in, and we had to come back in and do tillage again to get those out of there. But now that we have that root mass that covers out there, and as long as we haven't tilled it, we did till a field like 2 years ago because of drag line and manure, and then we piled up a bunch of stubbles, and we couldn't get it leveled out, so we tilled it, and then we went back to next spring to try to cut that field, and I couldn't get on it. We had made all our other crop up, and we still couldn't get on that one. It was just, we field covered it, I think, about 3 inches deep, and it was just soft that far down. And so then we moved away from that practice again. We figured out we don't make a mess, we don't have to fix it. Our cover crop now is mostly triticale, barley, oats, crimson clover, blonza clover. There'll be some vetch in there. There'll be some hemp, some whatever one other grass might be in there, but it's we're still struggling, I think, with our protein level yet. I think the biggest thing we had to do is we had to get the residue of the chemicals out of the soil, so we could start growing the clovers. The rye was real resistant to that, so we could, with our spraying practices of early, the rye would always grow. But once we found out, when we tried to get into the clovers and things like that, if we had any residual. So on beans, we'll just do a burn down. And then if we're Liberty, we'll spray that, but we'll put no residuals down. On our corn, our atrazine will be under a pound. We usually try to be at least half rate of what's recommended by industry, and I think with our soil health right now, we can get by with that. We'll be a little closer in the Liberty to label, but on our corn side, as far as the atrazine and stuff like that, we really have to hold that back. So for our next crop in the fall.
Hey, Paul, the other thing I would like to have you just discuss, a little bit is how your calcium application has evolved. How you and your dad started out, and then basically what you're doing now. That young guy we talked to there on Tuesday, or it was Wednesday. He's very interested in that. So if you can kind of enumerate that a little bit, how you're getting your lime out now, there's some young guys that might take a look at that.
Yeah, so they call it mineral filler, and I got a sample. They sent it to me today, Jim. So on the sieve number, on a number 8, it's 92% bound to a number 8 sieve, and then on a number 30 sieve, there's 50.4, and then on number 60, it's 34%. But I don't know what that all means. It's TCE on it says it's a 104.39, and magnesium is 2.29. Is what what it reads that they sent me the report. I told Lisa to get that today. But what we're doing for it now is we have mattresses in our free stalls, or it's kind of like a water bed. And what we'll do is every morning we'll go through with just a scoop tractor. We drive through the barn, and we just take a scoop shovel. We just put a light application on the back of the free stalls to keep the mattresses dry. And about every third day, we'll come in with the barley straw, and we'll chop straw on the stalls. And then in the summertime, we'll pretty well just use the lime. We buy this in a semi-load, about 24 ton. I'd say we're going to go through a semi-load of that about every 6 to 8 weeks, in the barn. And then that ends up in the manure, which is pumped into our lagoon. Once it gets into the lagoon, then we drag line it. We have our own in-house drag line equipment, and then we'll try and get across all of our acreage, at least twice a year with the drag line. And the maximum now, we moved it down to about 5,000 gallons at any application. Before, every time it seemed like we get up past 8 or 9, it seemed like we sour the soil, and then it kind of knocks us back. And if we stay around there, because we'll try to do this, we'll do it at least 2 applications, our hay grass mix sometimes if we have a good spring, we'll put it on our covers in the spring. Sometimes if we get a good opportunity, like in late November, we'll put it on standing crop in November, on our standing covers. We cover everything, so there's no bare ground. Everything gets covered. We'll take straw pack and we'll spread that across either covers or hay grass mix with like a night spreader. We can spread it thin, and then we'll do that all year round too. So like I said, all our manure is applied over the ground. We don't work or till anything anymore. Our drag line system is almost like a banding tool. It's got little roller slash wheels on it. Just makes a little bead cut, might go in about 2 inches, and then it distributes more manure right behind it. So I kind of like that. It's a 30-foot bar, but what it does is it kind of bands it down so we don't cover all the crop, mess up the photosynthesis that we don't. Some guys use like a splash bar, but then I think you get the manure all over the leaf of the plant, and then if you don't catch rain or something after that, it just kind of stuns the plant. So we just try to band it down between, in down to the ground, and then the crop can go back over it. I think it keeps it from leaching away. So, but that's
so you're putting it directly on the soil in most cases.
Most cases, yes. That's just going to spread that apart or make a little slit in there, and it works good. Like I said, we can get across corn ground once in a while after we shell it off. Bean stubbles, we can't get by because it always wants to drag the stubbles on a pile. So we either have to wait to the spring, or something like that on those fields. We have to. And this year we actually just rent the neighbor's tank, and we just tanked it on before we put our covers down. This year we just tanked some of those fields with a wheel tank.
So the way you're getting your calcium on now is through your manure, basically. So you've got the synergy of the manure and the calcium together, correct?
Yeah. I was like Eddie. I said back when Dad started, we was spreading, 3-4 ton a year, and it was like road chips, and the dust would fly away and the rocks would be out there. And I'm looking at that, and I said, well, shoot, that stuff. It took us a couple of years. When they all the driveway and we drive over it, took me 3 years just to grind it down, driving over it every day. I don't know how long it would take. It's still probably out in the soil. Now that first line, we spread that coarse stuff,
Sure.
in our area. So now, like everything, this was available. A guy came in the yard one day from the quarry and said, hey, can you guys use something like this? And so we started getting it, but now I guess some more jumped on board, so now it gets a little tough. I was supposed to get a load on Wednesday, but they was out, and it's supposed to come Friday now. So now I think everything now it's getting hard to come by. It was used to be piles of it around, and now nobody wanted it. Now all of a sudden it's starting to gain interest, I would say.
Yep, very much so.
Yeah.
Hey, can I interrupt there?
Sure, go ahead.
Hey, Karen, do you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Oh, very good. Very good. Hey, Paul, thank you very much. We really appreciate it, Paul.
Yep. Okay. I'm going to listen about the flowers, Jim.
Yep, very good. Okay, so there you guys are. Yeah, Eddie, you and Karen can kind of educate us.
All right, Karen, you can get started. How were you introduced, and how are you using it now?
Well, I live in an apartment and seniors retirement home in the setting of the Kincher Waterloo area, and my sisters and I, we really like flowers. My mother had a lot of flowers already, and so every spring we go to about 10, 12 greenhouses and shop around and decide what we want to get and haul a lot of stuff home. And well, then of course we need something good to fertilize. And when Eddie found out that he's married to my niece, he introduced growers, and we thought we would give it a try. And I've been using it now for 10, 12 years. So when you really like something, why change? So I like to keep on using it. It's a nice fertilizer. I usually plant my flowers in May, and then in about a week's time I will fertilize it and do it about every other week till the first week in September. Then I quit, and I have a very simple way of fertilizing. I just have a 2-gallon pail, and I mix about 5 tablespoons of grower in it, and I just use a container and I pour the water at the base of my plants. So they seem to.
Do you just water the plant by observation, basically? I mean, if it's dry, you'll use a little bit more, and if it's a little damper, you might use a little less.
Yeah, a little more that way. The bigger pot will get a little more than what the smaller pots do in that. I just
Okay.
yeah, it's just however, I don't have a exact.
Have you ever had any burning issues with it where it hurt the plant?
No, I never have. No. Not,
okay. Very
not
good.
yet. No, it's I think deadheading is really important to keep the plants clean. So
Sure.
try doing that. And no, I've had a lot of people ask me what I use, what kind of fertilizer, and I tell them it's growers. So
You just pour the water or the mixture right at the base of the plant. Is that
that's,
usually the way you try to do it?
yeah, that's what I try to do. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's so.
So you're putting about 5 tablespoons into a margarine container, or what size of container?
5 tablespoons into a 2-gallon pail of water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
Then I just use a margarine container to water them at the base of the plants. And
I gotcha.
I don't have a sprayer or anything like that. So that's no, they
Now the water that you're using, ma'am, that's is it just regular well water, or you got like a municipal source? Do you know anything about that per se?
I know it's a well water. It's there's 41 apartment units in this building here, and so we have they have to really keep tab of the water and but it's supposed to be good water, but I'm not sure now what.
Okay.
It's just I just go to the tap and get my water. That's all I do. So
Do you ever notice, ma'am, that you have like white particles in the bottom of the container that you water with, or does it stay fairly clear all the time for you?
I would say it stays pretty clear. I said if I spill a little bit that I catch on, there's kind of crystals if I spill it on the cement or something like that. But
Sure.
but in the pail, no, in the pail it's been well.
It's been staying clear for you.
Yeah, I have a wooden spoon that I stir it before to make sure it's mixed in that. So
Sure.
that's that's no, I'm happy. I'm happy with the growers, and I'm really as long as I am able, I likely want to have a lot of flowers. So
No, we very much appreciate that. We like simplicity, and if the customer's happy, we definitely are happy.
Well, I always say when I lived in the farm, somebody visited me and they told me that mentioned that I have so many flowers, and then I told them that's my therapy, and then they said, "Well, you must have a lot of problems." So I guess that was one of my problems tonight. Something didn't work right on the phone. So
Yeah, oh, not a problem, ma'am. We very much appreciate you getting on and educating us a little bit on that.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the people that we work with, we get into individuals that love their flowers, and we just want to show them that the product is a good, safe product, and we'll do a nice job for them.
Yes, well, I really am happy with the growers. I really am. So
very good. We appreciate that very much.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm glad you hung with us.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, Russ, I think we'll turn her back over to you, and we'll get ourselves prepared for next month.
Well, thanks everyone for joining tonight. That was a great discussion. Thanks to especially Karen for jumping on and sticking with us. So Hope we'll see you guys at the next call, which will be, let's double check that date, second Thursday in February, which is the 12th. So February 12th, same time, 9 o'clock. We'll talk to you guys then. Take care. Bye.
Thank you for listening to the Growers Mineral Podcast. Follow us on Facebook at Growers Mineral for updates. To submit questions for the show, email contact us at growersmineral.com.